Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Illuminated Feminine podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Christina Tarantola. I am a former pharmacist, author, transformation coach, and I have this podcast to really bring on guests who embody the illuminated feminine essence. And that is exactly what we are talking about today with my beautiful guest for episode 9, Jerrica Dodd. So you can just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about your magic. You and I have had probably an hour-long conversation.
It was good.
The last one that we had, but she has an incredible story. So whatever you kind of feel moved to start with would be great.
Like, that's like the $1 million question when someone's like, tell us about yourself.
Yeah.
Like, hey. So thank you so much for having me. I agree. When we had that conversation before, it was just like, oh my gosh, where's she been on my career? Where's she been on my career? Like, it was like meeting someone that had a kindred spirit. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, like we just click. And this is like, are you seeing this on this call? We're clicking. And so I enjoyed that. And thank you for having me as your guest. I am Dr. Jerrica Dodd. I am a pharmacist of 22 years, but I believe that I'm a different kind of pharmacist. I know that I'm a different kind of pharmacist. And as I left a 17-year career in the pharmaceutical industry to segue into full-time entrepreneurship, one of the things that I realized is that I feel that my calling is to serve women, specifically women pharmacists, because I, number one, remember some of the angst and hand-wringing that I did throughout my career in the industry. And I see a bit of that now with women pharmacists who are caught in some interesting places. Oftentimes, women pharmacists are the majority breadwinner of their home, even if they are married and their spouse is working. And therein lies a lot of pressure. And so when that woman pharmacist decides that she wants to make a change in her career, maybe even build a business, it really can be a hand-wringing time, if you will, because she has a lot of responsibility and she doesn't quite know where to start. And she's generally, whether she realizes it or not, operating in quite a bit of masculine energy. Yeah. And I don't think that that's how we were created to be all the time. So therein lies the crux of the problem. And I've found myself over and over coaching women, kind of, if you will, doing some like side life coaching, going, wait a minute, there's something else at play here. This is not just a simple, I want to build a business or I want to change my job.
Exactly. And I love how we just start right off with that, talking about, yes, there are so many women now that want to transition into entrepreneurship. And we've been so ingrained with that masculine, like going through pharmacy school, having that very like fast-paced career, especially, I worked in retail for quite a bit, and I was so used to just operating and like not having lunch or overriding my hunger and all of these different things that really we get so patterned with. And so when we come to, or maybe they come to you and they're like, hey, I want to build this business, there's already so much of that going on in the background that impacts how you show up in your business.
Right.
So what is the biggest thing that you see of how that masculinity can almost be a block in someone's business?
Well, I think it causes us to have challenges in relationships. Yeah. So I've been on the phone with many of women and said, I bet this is going on at home or that's going on at home. And they're always like, oh, how did you know? And I don't know their spouse. I don't have a camera on the wall in their home, but I can only imagine that because you can see it when you get on the phone. And I do Zoom calls because I feel that there are a lot of nonverbal cues that I pick up in speaking with people that I would not be able to pick up if I were just on the phone with them. Mm-hmm. So I can tell by the cadence of their speech. I can feel the energy that feels so like a lot like bottled up anxiety. I
Yeah.
can feel that. I can feel the I'm trying and I'm trying and I'm trying and nothing's working. I mean, I feel that, that pounding, if you will, that energy. And I apologize if I'm at a loss of even describing it, but I definitely know it when I see it and hear it.
Right.
And then that's when I go, I bet this is what's happening at home. I bet that's what's happening at home. And then they're like able to see the picture and go, oh, okay, I see.
Right.
So yeah, I can sense it. I listen to what they talk about.
Yeah.
I think as pharmacists, because we're so achievement driven and goal oriented, that I feel like what happens is we're so pressed to reach goals, to reach milestones, to check off boxes,
Yeah.
that we never step back, or we oftentimes don't step back and go, is this really making me happy? Is this really fulfilling? Or am I filling the number of scripts a day because I've just fallen onto this hamster wheel and I just keep going, 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 and
Right.
I'm checking off boxes, but I'm not truly fulfilled.
Exactly. And I love how you actually put your hand on your heart when you were talking about, like, is this making me happy? Because I think that we're so up here,
Yeah.
and in order to really embody our feminine essence, we need to be dropping into our heart, feeling into, is this actually making me happy? Or is this just, again, like you said, part of that go, 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 like, oh, the next check. And it's like, before you know it, you're 50 years old and you look back at your life like, wow, where did that go?
Right. And Christina, one of the things that I coach the women pharmacists that I work with on is the fact that we will let our intelligence override our intuition.
Yeah.
And because we feel comfortable with our intelligence, like we can bank on that. Like we
Yeah.
know drug interactions, we know left and right, we know A plus B. And so when it comes to making decisions, instead of us talking about like, how do I feel with that? Do I
Yes.
feel energized? I just finished a coaching client call right before this call, and I always ask at the end, how do you feel?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, oh my gosh, I just feel energized. Like I feel like and I said, that's how you should feel after a coaching appointment. It should not be like, oh my gosh, this is a drag. It shouldn't be that way. And so when we ask women, how they feel in their work environment, where they go and they're letting their intelligence all day drive the machine, if you will,
Yeah.
versus their intuition that keeps saying, hey, this isn't right. This doesn't feel good. It's very easy to just kind of press that down, suppress that intuition, and
Yeah.
lean on the intellect. And I coach women that it's really important. We don't have intuition for no reason.
Absolutely. And it's so important to follow that. And that's
Yes.
what I think led us both down. And anybody that's watching or listening to this, if you have that gut feeling, that, women's intuition, then I encourage you to follow that. And if you don't know where to start, that's why there's coaches who have been there and done that and can help guide you and bring out your own unique magic that will help you, really create a heart and soul aligned business. I think that's
Right.
what both of us do in a way. So I think that that's so important to talk about. So along the same lines, I want to hear from you. What to you is an illuminated feminine woman? Now that we're talking about femininity and all of that, what does that embodiment look like to you?
Ooh, that embodiment to me is really exciting because it helps me to understand that I can be who I was created to be. Oftentimes, women suffer from worrying about what they will think.
Yeah.
And I know that when we had that conversation that day, you see how real and raw I get. But I was like, who's they? I don't care about they. Does they send you a paycheck? And
Yeah.
so and so that's just my style and my sense of humor. But really, to embody feminism for me means I don't even have to worry about what they think. Like I can decide how I want to look, how I want to show up, and I don't have to show up and meet some ascribed way of what I should be like, how I should behave. I can be who I am, and I'm most comfortable being who I am. And it's amazing because I believe that when you show up as your, I don't know, feminine goddess self, I've had people who can feel that energy and
Yeah.
have said to me, like, if you've ever been, you know, after someone speaks and you're waiting in line to speak to them, there's someone in front of you, and I've gotten up where, okay, now it's my turn to speak with the speaker, and people have said things to me like, you know what? I could feel your energy before, and I haven't opened my mouth yet. She goes,
Yeah.
you haven't even opened your mouth, but I could feel your energy. And it's so calm. It's so inviting. It's welcoming. It's a sweet spirit. And so, not that I have an idea that I want to leave the house and I want to be sweet and, you know, cute and cuddly or anything, but I'm just being who I am. I'm confidently walking in who I am and embodying all that is me, what we would normally look in the mirror and go, oh, those are flaws, but saying, nope, that's who I am. That's what makes me unique. And not just from a physical or an aesthetics perspective,
Yeah.
but just being and embodying who I was called to be.
I almost saw it as like, there's no barriers, there's no layers of like, oh, I'm expected to be this way. So, you know, it's funny.
And
go ahead.
I would say the thought that came right when you started speaking was moving with ease and flow.
Yes, absolutely.
When I am stressed, when I'm like, then that's not with ease and flow. And I believe that that's when that masculine energy begins to rear itself and go, oh, gotta get it done, gotta get it done. But when I move through my days with ease and flow and go, no, like you said, no barriers, no restrictions, the days are so much better for me.
And that's really what the feminine is. You and I were talking about this before about, I see the feminine as very expansive, very, you know, creative. You use the words, you know, giving birth or creating,
right,
and receiving. And I think that the masculine is so, it's very driven, it's very ambitious. And it's interesting because I have a group of pharmacists, you're actually in it, the pharmacist entrepreneur group, and I had a call with them. And I said, the first thing I said, I don't want you to tell me what you do. I want you to tell me 3 soul qualities of your heart. And they were all like, I'm ambitious. And I was like, no, go into your heart. So it's so easy for us to go to that place. Like I said, because we've been so conditioned. So the work that you do is so important to really help people and, you know, to call it out and be like, this is what I'm seeing, because that's what a coach does. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And when you think about, when you say 3 qualities, I thought compassion.
Yeah. Oof. Yes.
Because I'm sitting with women who I was once them.
Yeah.
And so I have compassion, and I can understand why, you know, it takes everybody has to get to their own threshold of when they go, okay, something has to change, and it has to change now.
Yeah.
So compassion, encouragement. I'd spend a lot of time encouraging, and I say to my clients, I will believe it until you do, because most of them come to work with me, and it's not that they don't trust me. If they didn't trust me, they wouldn't, you know, sign a contract to work with me, but they don't trust themselves. Mm-hmm. And so when we don't trust ourselves, then we truly don't trust our intuition either. We hear it, we feel it, but we ignore it because we don't even trust ourselves. But I think you and I could both agree that if we were to look back over our lives and think about the times when we didn't listen to our intuition and then go, and how did that work out?
Yeah. It's so true. And that's the driver for our businesses, is like checking in. And even a lot of my clients who first start out as, you know, being like in that masculine headspace, I hear them now, and like somebody wanted to do a Facebook Live with me, and she's like, oh, like, let me tune into that. I'm like, yes, good. Like, feel into it. Feel if it feels aligned or not, because that's when you start going off the course, like, oh, let me just do 10 podcasts because like I have to. It's different than like with the guests that I invite on. I'm like, okay, like, let me tune in. Let me see where, like, is there a synergy?
Right.
So it's intentional. Right. And it's the same thing with translating those decisions into your business, right? Mm-hmm. What opportunities do I say yes to? What
Right.
feels aligned with me and my brand? All of those
Yes,
things.
definitely.
So
And even what clients you work with, because everybody that comes before me to have a conversation is not my client. And one of the things that I've been really, really intentional about is I'm looking for me, if you will, not people who
yeah,
are trying to be like me or what have you, but I'm looking for people that have the same heart threads that
yeah,
I do. And so if you were to be able to see, if I were to have all of my clients in a Zoom room, since we're all virtual now,
yeah.
if I were to have them all in a Zoom room and you started listening to their stories are not identical to my stories, but you would find a common thread that is
Yeah.
woven throughout. And so it's very important that as I'm looking for my clients, that I go find me,
Exactly.
because I've solved these problems for myself and I want to help those who are having the same type issues. I feel that I'm better equipped to solve their problems.
Absolutely. So you call it heart threads. I call it soul frequency. Like when you put
Yeah.
yourself out there, it's
Mhm.
that, okay. And yeah, like unworthiness or whatever I've been through, I can help them. So it's kind of like, yeah, I'm like putting this frequency out there like, hey, and then
Yeah.
it comes back that way. It's incredible the way energy works. So
Yes, yes. Because I think that even if you have energies that are misaligned and you end up taking on a client, just like I don't go looking for clients for money, but if you make a decision, which I believe is an intellectual decision and not an intuitive decision,
yeah,
I believe that having the wrong client can cost you so much heartache that it won't even be worth whatever it was that they paid you to
right.
be. So it's why every client's not my client. I don't want everybody. I'm not taking all comers, because to me, that's an intellectual decision. I want to make that from an intuitive place where I'm looking for the women who our hearts definitely connect. And when I'm saying, okay, I can help you solve your problem, we're on the same plane, if you will. We're on the
Yeah,
same page.
yeah,
And it's not like having to chisel away a mountain, if you will, versus saying, oh,
exactly.
okay, let's start flowing and let's walk into where it is that you want to go.
Mm, I love the way you just described that. It's so beautiful to hear that. Yeah, and I hear like soulmate clients. Those are the people that you want to be drawing in. Absolutely.
Definitely.
So tell me a little bit more about some of the things that you're excited about. We haven't even mentioned your pharmacist magazine yet. So whatever you feel like you want to start with, yeah, show us a picture. Beautiful.
Well, actually, I was telling a coaching client last evening that I believe when 2020 is over, whenever you refer to anything that didn't go quite the way you planned in 2020, although I believe it's all for our good, like however it has happened, it's been for our good. But when you're referring to 2020 in the future, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, well, girl, that was 2020. Like
Yeah.
everybody was like, oh, I understand. Like, because
Yeah.
2020 for us has been nothing that any of us could have ever expected. And so I say all that to say that it was my goal to have published, to be working on the third publication of the magazine for this year. But that did not happen, in that I started the year ill and was ill for at least a month.
Yeah.
And then there were other women who were planning to be a part of the magazine who became ill because, this thing called the coronavirus cropped up. And I think many of us don't know necessarily that we had it, but we're not sure that we didn't. And then, the just being in the midst of a pandemic and having unfortunately lost some family members to the virus, and just a lot happened. It was really a testimony that this was published in April of this year, despite all of what I
Wow.
described.
Yeah.
But my passion for the magazine, and the reason why I even built this platform, was not so that I can see my face on the cover. It really, and I've done a post about that to say, when I look at these covers, because there's usually somewhere they come up in conversation every day. When
Yeah.
I look at these covers, I don't see like the glamour shot. I see a woman who decided that I needed to make a change in my life to preserve my health. And I did it. I bet on me. I trusted God and I bet on myself. And that's what I see when I see these covers. And I built this platform so that women pharmacists, because, you know, we're quite analytical. We've been talking about the intellect. We're quite analytical, but I wanted women pharmacists to see examples, page after page after page, of women pharmacists who have decided to make a change in their life, and they're now building the life of their dreams. That's the simple premise of this magazine, is to show you that whether you want to pivot in your career, build a business that's pharmacy related or not, women pharmacists are brilliant. We are brilliant. And I'm not just saying anything disparaging about men. I'm not anti-man. My clientele is women pharmacists, and we're brilliant. So when you read the pages of this magazine and you see the women who have made changes in their lives, they are people just like you and me, and they made a different decision.
So I almost see like an archetype too, that you're like, hey, I did this, and like, look at all these other women that you're kind of displaying and showing, like, look what's possible. That's what I see.
Yeah. And because some people tend to be so analytical, here's your proof.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah.
Here's your proof, because I'm preparing it. So I'm not sure when this will air, but it will definitely be before the next issue. I'm preparing for the next issue. And so again, intuitively, I'm looking for that woman who has said, yes, I am a pharmacist, and I'm doing this with my life, with my world, with my career, with my dreams. Because I believe that whatever, I have a quote that I put up every time I publish a magazine, and I say, you would be amazed at what a woman pharmacist can create. And I believe that. So we talked about giving birth and creating, and I will say it all day. You would be amazed at what a woman pharmacist can create. A woman pharmacist created a magazine that did not exist. Of course, we've got plenty of pharmacy magazines, but I'm not aware of a magazine that celebrates women pharmacists. And it was
there it is.
A creation.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's I need to get some of those copies. Where can we find them?
So the magazine website is pharmacistmag.com. So PHARMA, cis, SIS, mag, MAG.com, pharmacistmag.com.
I'm going to put that in the show notes as well. And I'm going to go and order my copy so I can take a little selfie with it.
Yes. I would appreciate that. Yeah. And it's for women pharmacist business owners, it's a way, or if you're pivoting in your career, it's a way to market yourselves, which I just did a post yesterday that talks about, we did not learn to market ourselves. Because my other saying about pharmacists that a friend of mine gave me is, we're brilliantly insecure. So we tend to kind of contract, and you and I know that we need to expand and fill up the space that we should fill up in this world. And so that's one of the reasons why I have that magazine, is because when women pharmacists look at those pages, like once it's printed, and they look at themselves, and I go back and I ask, what's it like to see yourself as the CEO of your life, of your company, on the pages of that magazine? And it's something about it that makes you sit up straighter and go, wow, yes, that's who I am. And so you talk about embodying who you are. That's one of the tools that I feel will help you do it.
Absolutely. Wow. This is pure gold, everybody. I hope that you're just soaking all of this up right now, because there's just such a beautiful interweaving of the embodiment and just everything that we talked about with the femininity today. Oh my goodness. So what are you excited about? Like, what are some future projects that you're working on?
Excited about, I am going to delve into podcast land. And so I can't wait to turn around and invite all the women pharmacists that I know to come and be a guest
There you
of
go.
mine.
Yeah.
I have a lot of, not necessarily debts or favors to repay, but just continuing. The one thing that I love about the people that I meet is that there's no competition. Like, you and I talk about a lot of similar things, but we were on the phone like, hey, this is great. We were not on the phone like, okay, let me take notes, because no, it's because, and so I can't wait to have the platform to share more of myself, but also share more of the women who I come across and go, this is an amazing woman, and I want the world to meet her, like I do in the magazine. And so I'm looking forward to also using my platform. As we know, this, as I said, 2020 has been quite the year, and I know that it has definitely brought to the surface again the racial tensions around the world, not just in the United States, but around the world. And I definitely have sat for some weeks to say, where's my space? Where's my place and my space in all of that? Yeah. And so one of the things that I am dedicated to doing is talking about, since we are healthcare professionals, talking about how we can overcome healthcare disparities in caring for patients, in making sure that they're able to live the lives that they want to live, and not having disparities just based upon the color of their skin be the reason that they can't have the life that they want to live with regard to their health.
So, question for you, are you going to be interviewing people that are not pharmacists? Because I have someone in mind right now that I'm like, oh, you need to talk to her. So
yes, sure. Yes, okay. And the reason why is because, you know, as I'm coaching pharmacists, one of the things that I really stand on as hallmark is about relationships. Relationships are so important. And I tell pharmacists, you're going to be quite a boring person if the only people you know are other pharmacists. You need the whole world out there for us to know. And so I'm happy to meet and invite someone who's not a pharmacist. I don't want only pharmacists, no.
So this woman is amazing. She was actually my college roommate, and she's been really active in, you know, writing articles for the New York Times and all these different magazines. And I think that she would be a phenomenal guest for you, you know, once you start, or just to even connect with her as well. But I'll connect you guys.
Sure, I love meeting people. And it's interesting. Introverts are definitely attracted to me in my business, and they all come to me and they go, well, wait, now I'm introverted. and here I am going, but you need to meet the whole world. The world is out there. There are plenty of people for you to meet. And they're looking at me like, really, I don't know about meeting all these people. But they come to find out that whether they're pharmacists or not, you can meet some amazing people and find synergies and opportunities to collaborate and serve and help, you know, fulfill your purpose, even with people that you meet who are along a similar journey.
Right. Absolutely. That's what we're doing here.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really excited for you. Do you have a name, or is that you're not going to announce it till?
I'm still working on the name, so okay. I don't have anything to announce yet. But so that is one of the things that I'm looking forward to. That was a goal for 2020, and like I said, you know, we started 2020, and it has looked a bit different from what we all were expecting. And so I think the beauty of, if there's any beauty to find, obviously we're in the midst of the pandemic and what have you, and we don't, you know, need to quote facts and figures, because I'm sure as pharmacists and, you know, just general population, we know them. However, I think that if there's beauty to find in all of this, it's how do you pivot? How do you shift? How do you move with what's happening and create what's new for you? Because oftentimes it's really tempting to look at it and go, oh my God, pandemic, coronavirus. Mm-hmm. But what does that mean for me? What does that mean that I'm to create out of this? What am I to birth out of this opportunity that I've had to be in one place for many weeks? What's supposed to be birthed out of that? What's to be created out of that? And so I think that's been, you know, one of the, if you can say, one of the good upsides of all of this. I, definitely don't make light of the seriousness of it at all, and have definitely been impacted personally. But I think that whenever we have situations like this, where's that growth, that new birth that happens?
Yeah, it was definitely a shakeup. And I think, like you said, being able to, with any business, you have to be able to innovate and pivot and see what's the opportunity out of it. Absolutely. That's awesome. So any other last minute things that you can think of that you want to share? Obviously we'll share where people can find you, but anything else on your heart that you want to share today?
I would just say that for me, and this is what I communicate with any woman that comes across my path. I think that it's so important to tap into your heart and what your dreams are. And I think a lot of us tucked our dreams away when we finished school, we got a job, and we, got on the little hamster wheel and we just started running. And dreams, who has time for that? And my suggestion is that you spend time getting in tune with what it is that you really want, what your heart really wants. And oftentimes, if you get in tune to what your heart wants and you look around your life and you go, this isn't what my heart wanted at all. This doesn't even look like it's not even close. That you really want to stop and take the time to examine what needs to change. Because I think one of the saddest things would be to get to the end of life and you've covered up with paper, with whatever, with assignments, with goals and achievements, what your heart really wanted. I think that is that's like the biggest sad thing that could happen, if you will. And so I just encourage women to take the time to sit and understand what's in their heart, and not be afraid to admit what's in their heart, not cover it up and suppress it and push it down, but spend some time figuring out what that is and then going and pursuing that.
I love it. That's like an answer that I would say on a podcast. I always say, like, just trust your intuition, tap into your heart. That's so beautiful. Yeah. And such wise words. I so appreciate you coming on today. How can people find you? How do you want people to connect with you?
So there are a couple of ways to find me. Definitely, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, and I am on Instagram. And I also have a website. It's drjerricadodd.com. So it's Dr. Jerrica, my first name, Jerrica, Dodd, Dodd.com, drjerricadodd.com. And there's a way to send a contact message and that'll come directly to me. So any of those ways. I hang out a lot on LinkedIn and on Facebook mostly. So yeah, any of those platforms.
That sounds great. So everybody, make sure you reach out to Dr. Jerrica. She's an incredible woman, as you can see, such a beautiful spirit. And I'm just so grateful. And I look forward to being on your podcast in the future. So
Yes. I will definitely keep you posted.
Awesome. Take care, everybody.